Okay, let's unpack this. What if the greatest dietary villain we've feared for decades is actually innocent?
It sounds pretty wild, doesn't it?
It really does. Especially when you think about how much advice, how many diets, how many food choices have been built, I mean, entirely on that very fear.
Mm-hmm.
And if you, like so many of us, feel utterly overwhelmed by the constant barrage of conflicting information about what to eat,
Oh, absolutely.
what's truly healthy, what's going to harm you, well, you are definitely not alone.
No, it's a common feeling. Very common.
We've all been there, right? Staring at a grocery store aisle, just paralyzed by indecision, wondering if we're making the right choice.
Or feeling guilty about something you just ate.
Exactly,
Hmm.
that pang of guilt. So our mission today in this deep dive is to challenge a really deeply entrenched dietary dogma, one that's shaped public health for, what, over 6 decades?
At least.
We're talking about saturated fat. For generations, it's been painted as the ultimate dietary bad guy, the express train street to heart disease.
The number one public enemy in food, basically.
Right. But what if that whole narrative, the one that shaped global health guidelines, influenced countless personal decisions? What if it was built on, well, an incomplete picture?
That's the core question we're tackling.
Today, we are diving into a monumental, really eye-opening analysis. We're talking about data from 600,000 people.
600,000. It's a huge data set.
This isn't just, another study popping up. It feels more like a fundamental reevaluation of everything we thought we knew. It forces us to rethink these deeply held beliefs about nutrition.
It certainly does.
So prepare yourself for some truly surprising facts and hopefully, I mean, really hopefully, a whole lot of clarity amidst all the dietary noise.
Yeah, and it's truly remarkable, isn't it, how powerfully a single idea, even if it's incomplete or maybe selectively interpreted, can shape public health for generations.
It's staggering.
As you said, this fear of saturated fat hasn't just influenced what you or I might choose to eat. It's permeated national food policies.
Right, like the food pyramid.
Exactly. Agricultural practices, even the kinds of products you see lining supermarket shelves. It's an extraordinary example of how a belief can get rooted so deeply in, the collective consciousness.
It becomes unquestionable truth almost.
It does, handed down like gospel. But, as we know, science rarely stays static, does it?
No, it's always evolving.
It evolves, often dramatically, as new evidence comes out, as research methods get more sophisticated. And this evolution, well, it requires us to bravely question what we once considered settled science.
Even when it's uncomfortable.
Especially when it's uncomfortable, to revisit the very foundations of our knowledge. And today, we're going to reveal something crucial, that the initial low-fat dogma, the very bedrock of what we were told for decades,
Yeah.
it might have stemmed from a surprisingly selective interpretation of data.
Selective, so not the whole picture.
Potentially not. And this isn't just about changing dietary advice, it's about uncovering a much broader narrative of how science can sometimes be misapplied or maybe misunderstood.
And the impact that has.
And the profound impact that can have on millions of lives. So my promise to you, the listener, is that by the end of this deep dive, you'll not only have a much clearer understanding of why this reevaluation is happening,
Okay.
but maybe more importantly, what it genuinely means for your own healthy eating choices. Hopefully empowering you to navigate this evolving landscape with, well, newfound confidence.
All right, let's do it. Let's go back in time then to understand where this all started. The genesis of this powerful dietary dogma, the dawn of the low-fat message.
Mm-hmm. Back to the 60s.
Yeah, we need to transport ourselves back to the 1960s. This was a pivotal era, wasn't it? A time when public health advice about diet really started to solidify, gain widespread prominence.
Absolutely. Governments, medical institutions.
Popular media too, right? They all started broadcasting what they believed were these authoritative dietary guidelines.
Yes, telling everyone what to eat.
And at the very epicenter of this whole movement, this figure emerged whose work would become the absolute foundation of the low-fat message, Dr. Ancel Keys.
Ancel Keys, a name many might recognize.
He gained immense prominence through his really influential 7-country study. Now, this was groundbreaking for its time, an observational study looking at diet and health across different nations.
It was ambitious, no doubt.
And what Keys' study suggested, and what the headlines really ran with, was this direct, compelling correlation, a perceived link between eating saturated fat and rates of heart disease.
A simple, scary message.
Exactly. The message that hit the public and policymakers was crystal clear. Eat more saturated fat, your risk of heart problems goes up. Simple as that.
And at the time, it seemed like a powerful answer, right? Heart disease was a growing concern.
It did. It seemed like this undeniable truth, offering a straightforward solution. And because it seemed so clear-cut, Key's study gained widespread acceptance incredibly fast.
It wasn't just accepted, it became dogma.
Totally. It became the bedrock, the foundational principle for dietary guidelines for literally decades, influencing everything: school lunches, government food pyramids.
Everything.
Imagine that. A single study becoming like the immutable law for generations of eaters. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What does this all mean for us today, decades later, with many of us still kind of following these guidelines, maybe without even knowing where they came from?
Yeah, the origin story is crucial. And it's vital, when we connect this to the bigger picture, to understand the significant limitations of that foundational study by Ansel Keys.
Okay, so it wasn't perfect.
Far from it, according to critics. While it was undeniably influential, it also faced immediate and, substantial criticisms from within the scientific community.
Criticisms that didn't make the headlines, I bet.
Precisely. They didn't get the same public attention as the main finding. What's truly fascinating here is how the dominant narrative got shaped, not just by what was in the study, but perhaps more importantly by what was conspicuously left out.
Left out? Like what?
Well, critics back then, and certainly looking back now with modern analysis, highlighted what we might call a significant data issue, sometimes referred to as cherry picking.
Cherry picking data. That sounds problematic.
It can be. The 7-country study didn't actually look at a truly representative sample of countries or all the available data from the countries he did look at initially. For instance, there were several countries with remarkably high fat intake, including a lot of saturated fat, that paradoxically had low heart disease rates.
Wait, high fat, low heart disease. That goes against the finding.
Exactly. Think of places like France, maybe Switzerland, even parts of Germany. Traditional diets there are rich in things like cheese, butter, cured meats.
Things Keys would say are bad.
Right. Yet their heart disease rates were notably lower than in the U.S. at the time. And conversely, some countries with very low fat intake, like, say, Chile or certain parts of Italy, actually had unexpectedly high rates of heart disease.
So the data was kind of all over the place.
It didn't all fit the neat narrative. And these populations, these inconvenient truths, whose health outcomes directly contradicted the emerging low-fat hypothesis. They were, let's say, conveniently excluded from Keyes's main published findings and the public health story that followed.
Wow. So it wasn't the full story being told.
It's like studying a global phenomenon, but only presenting the data points that fit your preconceived idea while ignoring the ones that don't.
Okay, the implications of that omission seem huge.
They are quite stark and should give us pause. The entire low-fat narrative, which dominated public health for over half a century, influenced dietary recommendations worldwide. It wasn't built on a comprehensive, unbiased look at all the evidence.
It was built on selected evidence.
It seems that way. Constructed on incomplete, selectively presented data. It wasn't a universal truth observed everywhere. It was a specific interpretation that arguably left out facts that didn't fit.
Whether that was intentional or not.
Right. Whether intentional or just a result of the methodology and biases of the time, this kind of selective interpretation can lead to a powerful, yet fundamentally flawed, public health dogma.
Which raises a big question then.
It does. How does a narrative, once it's established like that, become so incredibly difficult to challenge, so resistant to new evidence, even when the original data was incomplete or had significant flaws?
Inertia.
Inertia, the power of a simple story. It speaks volumes about how hard it is to shift deeply embedded societal beliefs, even in science.
It's quite a revelation, isn't it? Just stopping to think that the very foundation of decades of dietary advice,
Yeah.
the low-fat gospel that shaped our parents, our grandparents' eating habits, that influenced the food on supermarket shelves, the advice from doctors,
All of it.
might have been built on a foundation that wasn't nearly as solid as we all believed. That realization alone, it just changes everything, doesn't it?
It really reframes the whole conversation.
It makes you consider how much of our lives, how many food choices, how many feelings of guilt maybe over a slice of cheese or a piece of steak has stemmed from this one singular, potentially flawed idea.
It's truly staggering when you trace the impact.
For decades, we diligently avoided natural fats, didn't we? Often
Yeah.
replacing them with things we were told were heart-healthy alternatives.
Like those low-fat spreads or yogurts.
Right, which were, in reality, often loaded with sugars and refined carbs. We were told we were doing the right thing, meticulously counting fat grams.
Oh yeah, the fat gram counting era?
And yet, paradoxically, rates of obesity, diabetes, even heart disease continued to climb in many populations. It just didn't add up.
The promise didn't match the outcome for many.
So this historical perspective, it really sets the stage perfectly for what's coming next. Because now we're pivoting, right, to the modern scientific reevaluation.
Yes, fast forward to more recent times.
We're about to dive into a massive new data set. One that doesn't just question this historical narrative, it challenges it head-on. With a scale and rigor Ansel Keys could have even dreamed of back then.
Exactly. The tools and scope are just vastly different now.
Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting. Decades passed, the scientific community, thankfully, kept scrutinizing these long-held beliefs, pushing for more comprehensive, more robust data.
As it should. That's the scientific process.
And this continuous scrutiny, this relentless search for clear understanding, it led to a monumental turning point, the 2020 JAMA meta-analysis.
JAMA Journal of the American Medical Association, a major publication.
And for those listening who might know about research, you understand the immense power and credibility of a meta-analysis, especially one on this scale.
Absolutely. It's a study of studies, essentially.
We're talking about an analysis that synthesized data from 600,000 individuals spread across 18 different countries.
Think about that number again, 600,000 people.
Now, why is a meta-analysis of this magnitude so incredibly significant? Especially in a field like nutrition, which is notoriously complex, often feels contradictory.
Right. You read one study, then another says the opposite.
Exactly. Well, individual studies, no matter how well designed, can have issues.
Right.
Biases, confounding factors. Maybe they're just too small to detect subtle but important effects.
They offer snapshots, but not always the full landscape.
Precisely. A meta-analysis, especially one aggregating data from hundreds of thousands of people across diverse populations, it essentially pools the statistical power of numerous independent studies.
It amplifies the signal, hopefully.
Yeah, it's like gathering countless individual pieces of a puzzle and finally seeing the full coherent picture emerge.
Yeah.
This method lets researchers cut through the noise, smooth out those individual study biases and random variations.
And uncover a clearer, more consistent signal from that vast ocean of data.
It's the closest thing we have to turning up the volume on the scientific truth, making it much harder to ignore. And that's why this particular JAMA meta-analysis has been such a massive game changer in the world of dietary science.
It really landed with significant impact, and it's truly unambiguous, isn't it? What's fascinating here is how the findings of that 2020 JAMA meta-analysis directly confront decades of, well, ingrained fear around saturated fat.
Okay, so what did it find? The big reveal.
This massive, comprehensive meta-analysis found no clear, independent link between saturated fat intake and cardiovascular disease.
No clear independent link. Okay, unpack independent.
Right. It means when they accounted for other factors, overall diet quality, lifestyle, etc., saturated fat on its own didn't emerge as a primary driver of heart disease risk. This isn't some subtle nuance. It's a direct, head-on contradiction to the central pillar of that 6-decade-old low-fat dogma.
Wow. So the thing we were told was the main cause isn't, according to this huge analysis.
When looked at in isolation from other dietary and lifestyle factors, yes. The scientific basis for this conclusion is incredibly compelling now, drawn from a convergence of high-quality evidence.
So it's not just one study type.
No, not at all. We're not just talking about isolated observational studies, though they contribute. This finding is robustly supported by large-scale prospective cohort studies.
Those are the ones that follow people over time.
Exactly. Following groups of people for long periods, watching their diet and health outcomes without intervening. And crucially, it's also reinforced by randomized controlled trials, RCTs.
The gold standard, right?
Often considered the gold standard, yes. Participants are randomly assigned to different diets, allowing researchers to control for many confounding factors. And consistently, across these rigorous forms of research,
What's the pattern?
there has been a failure to show increased mortality or heart risk directly attributable solely to higher saturated fat intake, especially when it's consumed as part of a whole food diet.
Okay, part of a whole food diet seems key there.
It's absolutely critical, and this has led to a crucial evolution in how we understand cardiovascular risk. For years, the focus was just on total LDL cholesterol, the bad cholesterol.
Lower is better. always.
That was the simple message. But newer science, supported by these large data sets, reveals a much more nuanced picture. It's not just the amount of LDL, but the type of LDL particles that matters.
Type, like small versus big.
Exactly. Small, dense LDL particles are generally considered more problematic than large, fluffy ones. But perhaps even more importantly, the focus is shifting towards the critical roles of chronic inflammation, systemic oxidative stress, and insulin resistance.
Ah, so bigger metabolic issues.
Precisely. These seem to be far more significant drivers of heart disease. And saturated fat, particularly within a healthy whole food dietary pattern, doesn't appear to independently cause those issues in the way that, say, refined carbohydrates and ultra-processed foods demonstrably do.
Okay, that's a massive clarification. So the implications of this shift are enormous then.
Huge. For generations, we were told. Cut out fats meticulously. Choose low-fat everything. Fewer butter, eggs, red meat.
It was preached as the path to heart health, unequivocally.
But now, the largest, most robust data sets available offer, frankly, no justification for that level of fear directed solely at saturated fat.
Which leads to that important question you raised earlier.
Right. If the science now points so clearly elsewhere, if our understanding of metabolic health has evolved so profoundly, why does the old dogma persist so stubbornly? In public consciousness, in some dietary guidelines, in media headlines.
It's hard to change course, I guess.
It's incredibly difficult. It's a powerful testament to how hard it is to change deeply ingrained beliefs. Even when faced with overwhelming new evidence, you see things like the hashtag nutrition myths hashtag online.
Yeah, I've seen that.
It isn't just a fleeting trend. It reflects a deep, widespread frustration with information that hasn't kept pace with discovery, and the immense challenge of shifting a collective mindset.
It really does feel like dispelling a long-held demon, doesn't it? The key takeaway here seems incredibly clear. The scientific community, armed with far more comprehensive, rigorous data than ever before, has largely cleared saturated fat from its long-standing role as a dietary villain.
That seems to be the direction the best evidence is pointing.
It's a complete flip of the script that so many of us grew up with. A paradigm shift that changes the very foundation of our nutritional understanding.
It requires a significant mental adjustment for many.
And just think about the scale of the evidence again for a moment. Imagine 600,000 people's data telling us a fundamentally different story from what we've heard for 60 years.
The weight of evidence is substantial.
That's not just a minor tweak to dietary advice. It's like a tectonic plate shifting in how we understand nutrition and health. It implies that the fear that drove us towards low-fat options,
which often led us unwittingly towards foods loaded with sugars and refined carbs.
Right, that fear was deeply misplaced.
It seems so.
So if saturated fat isn't the real culprit in our modern health crises, if it's been largely exonerated by the latest science, then what is?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It's perhaps the most important one. And it leads us directly into our next crucial section, where we shift focus to identify the true adversaries of public health in our world today.
Exactly. If saturated fat isn't the enemy, then what is? And this is precisely where looking at contrasting cases, looking at traditional dietary patterns, becomes incredibly insightful. It really illuminates the path forward.
Okay, so looking at cultures that didn't follow the low-fat trend.
Precisely. What's fascinating here is how many cultures around the world have, for centuries, sort of intuitively understood something essential about nutrition, something we in the Western world seem to have forgotten or even actively fought against for decades.
Like what kind of diets are we talking about?
Well, let's look at traditional dietary patterns that have stood the test of time long before the modern food industry came along. Think about the Mediterranean diet.
Widely celebrated, yeah.
Absolutely. Celebrated for its health benefits, longevity. Or consider the ancient principles of Ayurvedic diets from India. Now, these are emphatically not low-fat diets.
Not low-fat.
Far from it. They have long included and actually celebrated natural, healthy fats. Think of the generous use of extra virgin olive oil in the Mediterranean diet.
A staple.
Or nutrient-rich ghee-clarified butter in Ayurvedic traditions. These diets are characterized by their emphasis on whole, unprocessed foods. Fresh vegetables, fruits, legumes, nuts, seeds, lean proteins, and healthy fats.
The fat wasn't feared.
It wasn't demonized. And these diets have consistently shown strong, long-standing positive health outcomes for the populations that follow them, generally lower rates of chronic diseases. They weren't built on a fear of fat. They embraced it as a vital, nourishing component of whole natural foods alongside plenty of fiber and micronutrients.
So they serve as really compelling counterexamples to the whole low-fat dogma.
Incredibly compelling. They show us healthy, vibrant populations consuming and thriving on diets that include natural fats, often in significant amounts, for generations.
Which raises that important question again.
Right. If these traditional ways of eating have proven so successful over centuries, what fundamental truth did we miss when we tried to simplify nutrition down to a single villain fat and strip our foods of it?
It's a powerful contrast, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, okay, if natural fats aren't the problem and traditional healthy diets actually embrace them, let's pivot to what is dominating modern diets, especially in Western nations like the US, the UK, places that paradoxically were at the forefront of pushing the low-fat message for decades.
Yeah, the very places that adopted it most strongly.
This is where the picture becomes much clearer and, frankly, quite alarming.
It is concerning.
What we see in these countries is a deeply concerning trend. Skyrocketing rates of chronic diseases. We're talking about an explosion of obesity, a dramatic rise in type 2 diabetes diagnoses, and stubbornly high rates of cardiovascular disease.
The very things the low-fat approach was supposed to fix.
Exactly. The very conditions it was supposed to prevent or reverse. But instead, they've accelerated. And here's the critical correlation our sources point to. These nations consume vast, unprecedented amounts of ultra-processed carbohydrates and sugars.
Ultra-processed foods, that's a key term.
It really is. And when we say ultra-processed foods, we're not just talking about, convenience. We're talking about industrial formulations. Things often containing ingredients you wouldn't find in a home kitchen.
High fructose corn syrup, hydrogenated oils, artificial flavors, emulsifiers, the list goes on.
A myriad of chemical additives. They're engineered for hyperpalatability, right? To make you want more. And for cheap production.
They trigger those reward centers in the brain powerfully,
leading to overconsumption, often without satisfying real nutritional needs. And crucially, they're typically stripped of their natural fiber, their essential micronutrients during processing.
creating a double whammy.
Totally. They fill you up with empty calories, leave your body starved for real nutrition, which can drive chronic inflammation, metabolic dysfunction.
And relentless cravings. It's a vicious cycle.
Just think about your own pantry for a moment. How many processed snacks do you see versus truly whole natural foods? It's often a stark contrast, isn't it?
It reflects a fundamental and arguably detrimental shift in our food supply and, as a result, our collective health.
Okay, so putting it all together then.
Yeah, if we connect this to the bigger picture, all these converging lines of evidence, you've got the historical reevaluation showing the flawed foundations of the low-fat message.
All right, the Ansel Keys part.
Then the massive 2020 JMS study, 600,000 people, finding no independent link between saturated fat and heart disease.
The big scientific update.
And then these contrasting cultural examples, traditional diets thriving on natural fats while modern societies struggle with chronic disease despite lowering fat intake.
It all seems to point in one direction.
It really does. They all point towards one clear, pretty unambiguous conclusion.
Which is?
Natural saturated fats aren't the enemy we were led to believe. They are not the primary independent driver of the chronic diseases plaguing modern society.
Okay, so who is the enemy?
The real adversaries, the true culprits wreaking havoc on public health, demonstrably linked to obesity, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, seem to be ultra-processed foods and refined carbohydrates.
Those industrial formulations we just talked about.
Exactly. The items often packed with excessive added sugars, unhealthy industrial seed oils, maybe trans fats, a host of artificial ingredients, all while being stripped of natural fiber, vitamins, minerals.
So it's not just a minor detail in a scientific debate.
No, it's a profound fundamental shift in understanding what true healthy eating looks like. It compels us to completely reorient our focus.
Which brings up that question again.
Are we as a society still fighting the last war? The war on fat, when the real battle has shifted dramatically right under our noses to the aisles filled with processed snacks, sugary drinks, convenience meals.
It feels like maybe we are. It's time to direct our energy towards the real challenge.
That seems to be the message.
Okay, so let's bring this down to earth. What does this all mean for you, the listener? Someone trying to navigate their health in the real world, beyond the scientific papers and the historical debates.
Yeah, the practical application.
Let's make this personal. Our sources highlighted a really compelling case study of someone we'll just call Alex. Their journey seems to perfectly illustrate this whole paradigm shift.
Alex's story sounds quite relatable.
It's incredibly common and kind of poignant. For over 20 years, Alex diligently followed a strict low-fat diet, believing wholeheartedly, like many of us did, that it was the healthy choice, the infallible way to protect their heart, stay healthy.
Doing what they were told was right.
Absolutely. Religiously avoiding butter, opting for skim milk, choosing low-fat dressings, shying away from egg yolks, feeling guilty about anything with fat in its name.
The whole 9 yards of low-fat living.
But here's the surprising and frankly kind of heartbreaking outcome. Despite this strict adherence to the dogma, Alex's blood sugar numbers started climbing. Their cholesterol markers actually worsened. Their overall energy levels declined.
So doing everything right for 2 decades.
And seeing health markers go the wrong way. Think about that. It's a powerful, tangible counter-narrative to the traditional advice so many of us followed, maybe blindly.
It shows that good intentions based on flawed info can lead you astray.
Totally undermining health goals. So Alex's turning point came from questioning the consensus, right? Driven by emerging research, personal frustration.
Decided to try something different.
Instead of rigidly following those low-fat rules, Alex made a pivotal switch. Focused on incorporating whole, unprocessed foods back into their diet. And crucially, this meant including natural fats.
Bringing back the butter, the olive oil.
Exactly. Real butter, olive oil, avocados, nuts, full-fat dairy maybe, while simultaneously making a conscious effort to cut out the processed snacks, refined grains, added sugars.
So shifting the focus to food quality.
Precisely. It wasn't about meticulously counting fat grams again, or following another restrictive rule. It was about shifting the overall quality and source of the food. And the result?
What happened?
Remarkable improvement. Within just 3 months, Alex's blood sugar normalized. Cholesterol improved significantly, better HDL, better triglycerides, energy levels soared.
Just 3 months, that's fast.
It really is. It serves as such a concrete, incredibly encouraging example for you, the listener. It illustrates the profound impact of shifting focus away from just one demonized nutrient, like fat.
And towards the overall quality and naturalness of the food on your plate.
It's a powerful testament, isn't it, to the body's innate ability to heal and respond positively when you give it the right whole food fuel.
It really is. And, it's fascinating how overwhelming it can feel to receive conflicting advice like this, especially when it directly contradicts what you've believed, what you've practiced for so long, maybe your entire life.
Oh, absolutely. Disorienting.
You are absolutely not alone in feeling that way. For decades, we've been fed a specific narrative, backed by what seemed like authoritative sources, and suddenly that narrative is being dismantled by newer, more robust science. It's incredibly disorienting, almost like the ground shifting beneath your feet.
So what do people do with that feeling?
Well, this is where we need to offer some essential mental care, maybe, and practical guidance. Instead of feeling just frustrated or overwhelmed, try to lean into curiosity. Empower yourself with knowledge.
Be critical thinkers.
Yes, we encourage critical thinking and self-awareness more than ever. You know the old adage, trust your gut. It actually has a surprising amount of wisdom in this context.
Listen to your body.
While scientific studies and meta-analyses are vital, absolutely, so is listening to your own body's unique signals. Experiment thoughtfully. Question the consensus, especially if it seems to lead to unexpected negative outcomes, like Alex experienced.
Find what works for you.
Focus on finding the real, unprocessed foods, the ones from nature. Not a factory with an ingredients list longer than a novel that genuinely make you feel your best. Provide sustained energy. Don't lead to cravings or brain fog. Your personal experience?
How your body responds.
Can be an incredibly powerful guide, complementing the scientific knowledge we're discussing today. Which, raises another important question.
Yeah.
In this age of information overload where contradictory headlines are everywhere, how do we discern truth from noise? How do we integrate science with personal experience? And where do we ultimately place our trust when it comes to something as fundamental as our daily nutrition?
That's a deep one. And not always easy to answer. But, sometimes a little humor can help underscore just how much of a paradigm shift this truly is.
Lighten the mood a bit.
Yeah. We've seen some brilliant, witty comments pop up online in response to this whole reevaluation of saturated fat, really highlighting the cultural moment, maybe that collective sigh of relief.
Like what?
It's like we're all realizing, turns out grandma was right. Don't fear the fat.
I love that one. It's perfect, isn't it?
All those home-cooked meals, all that butter, maybe lard, The traditional fats our grandparents just intuitively knew were fine before the low-fat craze hit.
Before the marketing took over.
Or for those of us who maybe leaned a bit too heavily on convenience and processed stuff, you hear things like, time to trade my ramen habit for proper steak nights.
A lighthearted jab, yeah.
It's a nod towards maybe a more traditional, nourishing way of eating, emphasizing whole, natural foods again. And my personal favorite, truly capturing the surprise of this scientific turnaround. JAMA just dropped the plot twist of the century.
It really does feel like that sometimes in nutrition science, doesn't it?
It totally feels like that. These comments aren't just funny. They really underscore the profound societal, cultural shift that's happening as we collectively grapple with debunking this long-held dietary myth.
It's a widespread recognition, maybe, that what we thought was the villain was just misrepresented.
Leading us down a very different and often less healthy path.
So yeah, to recap the core revelation of this deep dive then, we've thoroughly reevaluated saturated fat, moving it from that villain's pedestal,
Dethroning it.
to its rightful place as, well, a natural, generally non-harmful component of many wholesome foods within a balanced diet. And in doing so, we've hopefully clearly identified the real dietary challenge we face in the 21st century.
Which is?
Ultra-processed foods and refined carbohydrates. These seem to be the elements really driving our modern health epidemics, not the natural fats we were taught to fear for so long.
Got it.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture one last time, this entire deep dive underscores a profound truth that goes way beyond just nutrition.
How so?
It's about how misinformation can take hold, how incredibly difficult it is to dislodge it from the collective consciousness, and how truly empowering it is to seek out accurate, evidence-based understanding instead.
Knowledge is power, basically.
Misinformation often thrives in fear, doesn't it? Fear of disease, fear of doing something wrong, fear of missing out. But truth, real actionable truth, it truly grows in curiosity.
Asking questions.
It grows from the willingness to question long-held beliefs, to seek deeper understanding, and to stay open to new evidence, even when it challenges our comfort zones. So I challenge you, the listener, with a provocative thought drawn from the spirit of this discovery.
Okay, let's hear it.
Will you cultivate real nutrition, rooted in scientific understanding and your own personal experience, or will you continue to follow potentially outdated dogma? Will you choose inquiry over ingrained belief?
That's such a powerful question.
Yeah.
It really makes you consider the journey we've all been on, hasn't it? It reminds me of how often, as humans, we build these elaborate belief systems.
They seem so solid.
So solid and logical, only to find cracks years later that reveal an entirely different landscape. This deep dive, it isn't just about food, is it?
No, it's broader than that.
It's about our collective journey towards deeper understanding, about the human capacity for critical thought, our openness to new evidence. It really highlights the enduring value of ongoing learning, critical thinking in all parts of our lives.
Especially something as fundamental as health.
Exactly, especially when it comes to our health and well-being.
Yeah.
And it's not about finding a new dogma, is it? To rigidly replace the old one.
No, that would miss the point entirely.
It's about cultivating a discerning mind, equipped to evaluate information, make choices that truly serve your health, your unique body. So as we close this particular deep dive, I want to leave you with an open-ended question to ponder.
Okay.
What revelation comes next for you in your own personal journey to understanding what truly makes you feel your best?
A personal quest.
Keep exploring, keep questioning, and hey, join the discussion. Because the conversation of the journey of discovery, it never truly ends, does it?
Never. Always more to learn.